Hello, Randy here, and I came across a interesting article this week that I thought I'd share with you folks. Thought you folks might find this interesting. If you folks see my previous video about guns, kind of a, I don't know if I'd call it a continuation, but just an interesting article that I found that, yeah, we'll read it here in a minute. I first wanted to address two questions, or two comments, common comments that I got on my previous video. First one being about Australia. And a lot of people saying, oh, you need gun laws like Australia. One important thing to know here, Australia doesn't have gun laws. They got a gun ban/confiscate program. Now, I obviously don't live in Australia, so I can't comment 100%. I don't know everything there, but just from what I've read and heard, I believe it was 97 or 2006. I don't remember. Those two dates stick in my head, so I'm not sure which one it was, but Australia pretty much instituted a gun ban. Might as well call it a ban because you're pretty much not allowed to buy guns. Yes, they have laws, but it's pretty much a ban because, like I said, you can't really buy a gun for any particular purpose. And then they pretty much confiscated all the guns that were already out there. And a lot of people like to say, oh, look at that, the crime rate has gone down. Yes, the crime rate has gone down. Most of the graphs you see go from when they instituted the new ban to present. However, folks, if you take from when they instituted the ban and go backwards, you would find that crime was still going down. So, pretty much gun laws had negligible effect on the fact that the crime rate went down because it was already going down, which is a good thing. I mean, good thing the crime rate's going down. Definitely a good thing. But like I said, gun laws had very little effect on it. And most people, when you see the nice fancy graphs, oh, look at this, crime rate's going down. Keep in mind, they show you from when they started the law to the present. They don't show you from when they started the gun law to previous. And then the second one, UK. Again, UK pretty much similar, pretty much ban guns, confiscate guns, no guns in the UK. Had some person, hey, we got guns banned, crime's under control. Gun crime's under control, maybe. UK, from the statistics I've seen from, I believe this was the UN that publishes these statistics, is the number 2 in the European area for violent crimes. That, folks, is not a good rating. For as violent as what people say the US is, I think it was number 22 on that list, whereas the UK was number 2, as in they're excessively violent. Excessively number of violent crimes per capital something, mumbo jumbo. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to address that. Yeah, no guns in the UK. Great. Does that mean crime has gone down? No. In fact, the UK is the most violent, well, second most violent place in Europe. Which, yeah, that's not a good thing. Now, I don't think, guns probably have a whole lot to do with that. You add them in, it's probably not going to change much. It sounds like they're more of a crime problem than a gun problem. But anyway, folks, to get to this article that I found this past couple of days ago, just to give a brief overview, we'll read, the title is Would-Be Terrorists Can Buy Guns, but a Reporter, No. So anyway, this reporter went out to go and show people, write a report on how easy it is to buy guns in the U.S. The narrative out there being, it is extremely easy to buy a gun in the U.S. So, would-be terrorists can buy a gun, but a reporter cannot. Anyway, reporter went out to buy a gun, went to buy an assault rifle. Of course, the gun store told them they do not sell assault rifles. You're probably looking for an AR-15. So they sold him an AR-15. It was like 800 prices in here, something like $800, $900. There is a 24-hour waiting period in the state he's from, so he had to wait 24 hours to get this gun. Some point along the way, he got a phone call saying he was turned down and he could not get a gun. Yeah, so he could not buy a gun. So as easy as what it is supposedly to buy guns in this country, he was not able to buy one. It turns out he's had a few run-ins with the police, I guess. He's, as I termed it, an alcoholic wife beater. So they deemed him high risk and told him he could not have a gun, which I thought was just kind of interesting. Reporter goes out to show people, oh, look, it's really easy to buy guns in the U.S., and he was not able to buy one. So anyway, folks, I don't know if I'll read this word for word, but we'll read a couple parts of this here. Just the wording the reporter used, I just had to chuckle, laugh at. It's just so slanted anti-gun. It's I mean, you can just see the anti-gun reeking off this page. It's so funny. But anyway, from the Sun-Times, Chicago area, apparently it is illegal to have guns in Chicago, so this is outside Chicago somewhere. At least that's the way I read it here. Anyway, let's start. There's something soothing about buying a gun. Okay, if you say so. I mean, it's fun. I don't know about soothing. I won't use that word, but you go buy a gun, and at least in my case, you know, it's sporting use. I don't necessarily hunt with the guns I have. So anyway, driving to Maximum Shooter Supplies in Des Plaines on Wednesday to purchase my first assault rifle. Yes, an assault rifle. I admit I was nervous. I'd never owned a gun before, and with the horrors of Sunday's Orlando massacre still echoing, even the pleasant summer day, the lush green trees, fluffy white clouds, blue skies took on a grim aspect. The sweetness of fragile life flashes by as I headed into the valley of death. Let me read that again. Fragile life flashing by as I head into the valley of death, meaning the gun store. Early in my editor's office, I had ticked off the reasons for me not to buy a gun. This was just a journalistic stunt done repeatedly supporting an industry I despise. But as I tell people, I just work here. I don't own the place, and my qualms melted as I dug into the issue. So yes, he was going to pull a journalistic stunt there. Hey, look how easy it is to buy a gun. I had trouble even figuring out whether bringing an assault rifle into Chicago is legal. The internet was contradictory. The Chicago Corporation Counsel's office punted me to the black hole of silence. Bill McCaffrey, I found that Illinois has a 24-hour waiting period between buying and taking possession of a gun. That was the 24 hours I was mentioning there. Unearthing that fact alone made the exercise seem worthwhile. I was learning something, which, by the way, is a good thing. I think everybody should know, what the gun laws are, what the gun, all that good stuff. And unfortunately, I would say it is somewhat difficult because the laws are just, folks, how Congress writes laws. They don't know what they're doing. Anyway, reluctance melted when I walked into the large, well-lit store. Maxim's looked like a meeting of the mid-50s guy club. A dozen grizzled men in ball caps milling around. More on the glassed-in shooting range. Imagine a steady, muffled pop, 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 pop going on behind the rest of this column. I eyed the cases of weapons. Ooh, big revolvers, matte steel. Despite the run on weaponry that happened after these shootings, Smith & Wesson stock went up 6.9% Monday. As gun fans guard against restrictions that never come. There were a few dozen assault rifles, a vague term, yes I know, including a Sig Sauer like what was used in Orlando. That is a point worth mentioning. I don't think I mentioned it in my previous video. At that time they said he had used an AR-15. Turns out it wasn't an AR-15. It was a Sig Sauer MCX, I believe, which is not an AR-15. So important note there. More for my previous video than this video, but anyway. I'm interested in one of the ARs, I said, trying to project an air of manly ease. What's the difference between the cheap ones and the expensive ones? Not much, said Rob, a clerk with a winged death's head. Winged death head? I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean, with a dagger tattooed on his right forearm. Mostly it's a manufacturing tolerance difference, sights and stuff. He immediately asked me for my FOID, Firearms Owner's Identification Card. No gun purchase without it. He showed me a Smith & Wesson M&P 15 Sport 2, a lean black weapon, 6.5 pounds. We talked barrel profiles, and assault rifle is a misnomer. Despite what another clerk called black, evil-looking appearance of the guns, the only aspect relevant to the national debate is the standard issue 30-round magazine, which holds a nightclub clearing 30 bullets. I like how he calls it a nightclub clearing 30-bullet magazine. 8 states and the District of Columbia ban selling them, but not of course Florida or Illinois. I'll take it, he says. And then there's in kind of parentheses here, and this as part of it. They kind of stick it in, I thought, random spots in the story, but I'll read it. A few months earlier, a friend's life is dissolving into alcoholism and divorce. I try to listen to no point putting in my 2 cents anymore. Bewailing his fate, he mentions that his soon-to-be ex-wife is insisting he hand his guns over to the neighbor for safekeeping. Good, I say, slipping. F you, he replies with sincerity. I don't know if I say this or just think it. Your father shot himself, your grandfather shot himself. Maybe guns are not a good idea in your life right now. Whether I say it or not, we both already know it's true, but want the guns anyway, for protection. This apparently is stuck in here by the editor, my understanding, these parentheses parts. So the last 2 paragraphs. Like I said, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description below so you folks can see this article yourself. Like I said, it was from the Sun Times. Initially, I think it was on the Chicago Times website where I actually got this one. And I don't know why, but when you look at it, it shows the title here, but on when I print it off, the title disappears. I don't know why that is. But anyway. Driving to maximum, the whole gun debate clarified in bold relief. There is the danger of the gun itself, and there is the danger the gun protects you from. Another divide. Which danger you feel is greater decides which side of the divide you live on. Being fact-based? Yes, being fact-based. Oh, good. I know you buy a gun, the person you are most likely to shoot statistically is yourself and your family. More preschoolers are killed by guns than are police officers, nor do I need the sense of security, false though it may be, that guns bring. I live at Northbrook, where criminal danger is remote. My boys laugh at us for locking the doors. I don't plan on keeping this gun a second longer than I have to for this column. It's interesting to say here that it says guns bring false sense of security. Yeah, like I say, this reeks of anti-gun in this column. Not everyone feels that way. A house on the next block has a high fence, an electric gate across the driveway. The lines are drawn. In 15 years, I've seen it. I've never seen a person there. I would guess the owner is afraid, maybe just shy. But he sees a hazard requiring a fence, gate, and security devices that I do not imagine. I imagine he owns guns, and many of them. Funny, because the person lives in a closed-up house like that, he imagines he owns guns, and that's what he's afraid of. Okay. When it comes time to make the purchase, Rob, the clerk with the tattoos, handed me over to Mike, who gave his name, shaking my hand. I gave mine. The writer, he asked. He said if I wanted to lie as part of my job, I'd have gone into public relations. Yes, I said, explaining that I plan to buy the gun, shoot at their range, give it to the police. He suggested I sell it back to them instead, and I heartily agreed. Economical. If they would let me photograph myself with it here, the gun never leave the store. A reporter in Philadelphia bought an assault rifle in 7 minutes. 40% of the gun transactions in the U.S. have no background checks. Here I had paperwork, a federal form asking if I was an illegal alien. No. Was I a fugitive? Again, no. Had I ever been convicted on a charge of domestic abuse? No. Not technically true according to the report here. But it's interesting, he says he's not been charged of it. I'm not sure if he'd been charged with it or he'd been arrested for it or something like that. But anyway, has he been convicted of charges of domestic abuse? No. Handed over my credit card, $842 and another $40 for the instructor to acquaint me with the gun the next day. It's interesting, it says here 40% of the gun transactions in the U.S. have no background checks. I'm not sure where he gets that number from. Anytime I bought a gun, they go through pretty rigorous checks. So, anyway, our transaction took nearly an hour because we chatted. Mike used to read newspapers but doesn't anymore because of the opinion writers like me. Can you blame him after reading this? He knew whether it was legal to bring the gun to Chicago. It's not. So yeah, apparently no guns in Chicago according to this guy. He was friendly, candid, so I asked him difficult questions. Did he ever feel guilty about the people killed by the guns he sells? Really? He asked a question like that. No, he said. And that's like asking a car dealer if he felt guilty if someone gets drunk and kills somebody with a car they sold. Seemed fair? Seemed like a fair answer. So I asked him if I could quote him in the newspaper, and he said no, I couldn't. So I'm not quoting him. Okay. I'm not sure if the guy said something else then, because it looks like he quoted him here to me, but now we're back to a parentheses section again, and like I said, it kind of breaks up the column. I didn't quite understand what was going on until I got to the end and someone, let know, oh, that's what's going on. Back home later Wednesday, a neighbor asks how my day is going. I just bought an assault rifle, I say. Her eyes widen. She mentions that her brother-in-law owns 100 guns. 100 guns, I marvel. That's a lot. Why does he own 100 guns? He's afraid, she replies. And then, yeah, it breaks out again. Yes. Well, end of the story here. We'll get back to that. So remember that, folks. That's a lot of guns. Why does he own 100 guns? He's afraid, she replies. So remember that part. It's coming back up at the end here. I was looking forward to shooting my new rifle the next day. I've shot a lot of guns. It's fun. I was worried, though, about having fun with guns. In the current environment of outrage and horror, had I been co-opted by the purchase process, by the friendly staff. There is a whole world of hobbyists, of hunters, of people who love guns for a variety of reasons. They are not crazy. That are not crazy. 300 million guns in America. If the vast majority were handled safely, we'd all be dead. Oh well, I thought No Harm in Gun story reflecting the gun owner's perspective. At 5:13, I'm assuming this is the same day. It doesn't say. Sarah from Maxim called. They were canceling my sale and refunding my money. No gun for you. I called back. Why? I don't have to tell you, she said. I knew that, but was curious. I wasn't rejected by the government. No. What is it? I'm not at liberty, she said. Gun dealers do have the right to refuse sales to anyone, usually exercised for people who seem to be straw purchasers. I told her I assumed they won't sell me the gun because I'm a reporter. She denied it, but hating the media is right behind hating government as a pastime for many gun owners. They damn you for being ignorant, then hide when you try to find out. Yeah, again, folks, that's... a few hours later, Maxim sent the newspaper a lengthy statement. The key part being, it was uncovered that Mr. Steinberg has admitted history of alcohol abuse and charged for a domestic battery involving his wife. So that part back there, don't know if I can find it back here. Oh yeah, here it is. Had I ever been convicted of charges of domestic abuse? According to this article here, has an admitted history of alcohol abuse and charged for domestic battery, including his wife. So, as I said, an alcoholic wife beater. Well, I didn't see that coming. Were the same standards applied to the American public, that would be a whole lot fewer guns sold. Besides, they knew I planned to immediately sell it back to them. So he's assuming just because of that is the reason they didn't sell the gun. I would have to assume because of the alcohol abuse and wife beater problem, that is the reason they didn't sell him the gun. But yeah, it could be. Okay, Maxim had his chance to offer their reason. Now I'll state what I believe the real reason is. Gun manufacturers and the stores that sell them make their money in the dark. Congress, which has so much trouble passing the most basic gun laws, passed a law making it illegal for the federal government to fund research into gun violence. Except for the week or two after massacres, the public covers its eyes. Would-be terrorists can buy guns, and sane people can buy guns, but reporters, that's a different story. Gun makers avoid publicity because the truth is they sell tools of death to frighten people and make a fortune doing so. They shun attention because they know if we saw clearly what is happening in our country, we'd demand change. And then remember that part I mentioned earlier, folks. What's he afraid of? So back to another parentheses section here. What is your brother-in-law afraid of? I asked my neighbor. Other people with guns, she says. This guy owns 100 guns, and he's afraid of other people with guns. He sounds more like a gun collector to me. I don't see him being afraid of guns. Something seems very, very fishy about that. So yes, folks, that is the article. Like I say, I'll try to remember to put a link to that in the video description. So if folks want to read it, pretty good article. Well, in the sense that it's full of more crap than you can shake a stick at. Especially the last section. You know what? Let's just read the last section again. What he believes the real reason is. Gun manufacturers and stores that sell them make their money in the dark. That's funny. I go down to a gun store. It don't seem like it's too dark in there to me. You can just walk in, assuming you pass all your background checks. I've never seen one where you can't, or don't have to do a background check for, I'm saying. Even though, according to this article, 40% of the guns sold. Now, one thing I would like to question here. He says when 40% of guns sold, are these guns being legally sold? That's probably a good point to make there, because obviously if I buy a gun and go sell it to a neighbor, yeah, is that legally being sold? What about guns that are smuggled across the border, all that good stuff? So where does he come up with that 40% number? I'd love to know that one. I probably really should look into this a little more just to see where that number comes from, but like I said, I'd be curious to know where that number comes from. Congress has the most trouble passing even the most basic gun laws. We got quite a few gun laws, and so far, like I said, they don't seem to be working too well. Except for the week or two after massacres, the public covers its eyes. Would-be terrorists can buy guns. Yes, would-be terrorists can buy guns. Shouldn't be able to, I would say, but apparently they can. And here's the thing, folks. Okay, would-be terrorists can buy guns. How are you going to fix that? Oh, we're going to ban guns. Goes back to my previous video, which if you not see it, you should check that out. How are you going to fix the issue of would-be terrorists buying guns? Okay, if they don't buy the guns, what if they steal the guns? What if they smuggle the guns? Like I say, folks, pretty hard problem to solve, so I hope you folks enjoyed this article, enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave some comments below. I'm sure I'll get some good comments again like I did in my last video. And as always, folks, thanks for watching.